Hello, friends. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day, a Tuesday, as a matter of fact, November 12, 2024. Fancy meeting you folks here. How you doing? How's your day going so far? All right? You doing good? I hope so. We've got 3 hours of what I hope to be talk radio excellence on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As I mentioned, my name is Matt Murphy, and conveniently, this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, and conveniently, I've decided to do my own show today. Now, for those who have not heard, and I just want to reiterate and regurgitate this information, if you've not heard what's been going down over the past several days, I want to remind you, because I don't want anyone to be unawares of where I am when I'm not here. So, it was announced last Friday by Brian Wilson that he is preparing his retirement after 50 years of a broadcasting legacy that started in Odessa, Texas, and moved eventually to Washington, D.C. I think he was in Mobile for a while. I won't go over all of that, but Brian has decided to hang him up, and it's a well-deserved retirement. That's happening on December 24th. From now until December 24th, on Mondays and Fridays, Brian will not be here. He'll be here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. And so on those Mondays and Fridays, I will be shifting to the afternoon slot from 3 until 7. Chad Benson, who was here yesterday with Bell and Ken and the rest of the crew, he will be, I guess that's the crew, actually. I take that back. It was just Bell and Ken. There was no rest of the crew. Y'all are the crew.
Pretty much.
There's a cast of thousands that put this radio show. No, it's just the two of them. So Chad was here yesterday, and he will be here on Mondays and Fridays in my absence. It has not been announced nor formally decided, to the best of my knowledge, what will permanently go down starting in 2025. But as soon as we are able to let you know what that is, we will let you know what that is. Looking forward to what 2025 holds.
I have to say, though, just for Brian's edification, when you go to retire and you only cut 20% of your workload, it's not quite a retirement, sir.
I know. But no, I love it. I love we're going to have as much of him as we can get. And as he mentioned, and it's been assured to all of us in the building, and we assure all of you that Brian is not going away. Brian will be a part of the family on Super Talk 99.7 WTN for a long time to come. He is going to enjoy some retirement, cabana wife duties, if you will. But he will also be back from time to time, filling in, doing some specialty correspondence and all of those things. And we look forward to.
He's kind of going to function like an analyst for us, right?
He will be. You know what I like the analyst role. What I would like to say is he's also host emeritus on the radio station.
Yeah, well, of course.
You know, right?
Yeah.
So he is kind of that voice. You know, it very similar in nature to, and dare I make this comparison, and if it's erroneous, if Brian's listening, tell me if I'm off the mark here, but in a similar fashion to the way that Brett Hume decided to retire on Fox News, and when Brett retired, Brett Baer stepped into his role during the evening time hour, but Brett still comes on, still offers analysis, still gives his intimate knowledge of Washington, D.C. and the goings-on of that town, and Brian could do the same thing here. Hopefully, that's what we're talking about. So one way or the other, I just don't want anybody to be confused, and I know that there are comers and goers all parts of the day, and I just wanted to make sure that you understood that. Excited to be here today. We've got a lot to deal with, a lot to talk about on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. There's the voice of Headless Bell. We call him Bell K, is behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. Right behind him in News Closet B, it's Ken Weaver, illustrious award-winning newsman who gathers headlines constantly throughout the day and then occasionally lets you know what he's found, and he does a great job at that. Hello, Mr. Weaver.
How about you?
Let's not forget, award-winning is not hyperbole. That's true.
No, I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. Ken, how's I-24? Couldn't help myself.
Still ruined my day, Brother Murphy.
Yesterday,
I-24.
Yesterday, Ken was given a traffic report late in the afternoon. I was doing Brian's shift, and he just said that you had this tone in your voice. I was like, that is spoken like a man who travels that corridor on a regular basis and has to deal with it personally and intimately.
Good old I-24. Tire tools flying out of the back of pickups whenever they hit potholes.
Man, oh man.
Big rocks coming out from underneath the dump trucks, even though you are 200 foot behind them like the sign says on the back.
I was driving Elliston coming into work. Ellington coming into work today.
Mm-hmm.
You know those big pump jacks they use in mechanics shops.
Mm-hmm. I do.
In lieu of like the lift.
Yeah.
One just laying in the middle of the road.
Oh, well, there you go. Free pump jack.
That or a free new front end, one of the two.
Can I tell you, if you ever see something laying in the interstate and you think you want to get it,
don't.
Well, I know from personal experience, you hear these stories from time to time about people who get hit on the interstate, and you're wondering, how in the world does that happen? I know why it happens. I can tell you the story as to why it happens. Because about a year after I got my motorcycle in Birmingham, Alabama, I got some saddlebags to put on my motorcycle, and I had fashioned them and fit them in such a way I thought I was being slick. So I didn't want them under the seat. I wanted them on top of the seat. So I had some snaps on the top of them, and I had done this myself, and I got a leather guy to help me out with it. Well, long story short, I'm traveling on I-459 outside of Birmingham, Alabama, and I got cut up on 65, and I'm going to an event. And I looked back, I kind of glanced back, and I had no more saddlebags. Now, inside of my saddlebags were I had my piece. I had my little Glock 43 there for personal protection. I had some other accoutrement. I had my hat. Had a lot of different things going on. And these saddlebags were special to me because they were old horse saddlebags from the 1960s that I had repurposed for my motorcycle.
They were made out of horse?
Yeah, they were made out of real horse. That's right, Bell.
That's
no,
sad.
they were horse saddlebags made out of leather, you jerk. So I go back to try to find them, and I try to retrace my steps. And I think there's no way I'm going to find these things. Yeah. And I get to a certain portion of I-459 going in the southbound direction, or the, I guess, westbound, or whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
And on the other side of the road, it's a big 5-lane highway, Ken. On the other side of the road, on the side of the divide, there in the middle of the road, getting beat to crap by 18-wheelers and everything else, are my saddlebags. And so I have to go down to the next exit, turn back around, get to the thing, and I pull off to the side of the road, and then they are in the middle of a 6-lane highway.
Yeah.
Where there are cars traveling and 18-wheelers traveling at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I have to play Frogger.
Goodness.
And let me tell you something. You think you got plenty of time.
No, you do not.
And so I judged it. It was like, I want those saddlebags. And, oh, by the way, there's my busted apart Glock that I could never find the slide to, and they wouldn't replace it because the slide was gone. But anyway, and I can't find my hat, my poor hat. We found the hat 2 days later on the side of the road about a half mile down the road. I mean, I'm not even joking. But, yeah, don't do it. Don't pick up a ladder. Don't pick up a, what'd you call it, Bell? A jack? What kind of jack?
Pump jack.
Don't pick up a pump jack.
No, sir.
You'll get yourself killed.
Yeah, you will.
Not worth it.
You definitely will between here and Murfreesboro.
Because I'll
tell you that.
I looked, and I said, okay, here's my spot. They're way, way, way down there. Yeah. I just have to run right out there and grab them and run right back. And I ran right out there, and I grabbed them, and I looked up and was like, I'm about to die.
They never seem to be going that fast when I'm by them.
Right. It doesn't look that fast.
Yeah. I like it on the way in to work now. I'm watching on my, maps, and it's showing me where the slowdowns are. And then the signs, TDOT's put the signs up over the interstate that shows you the speed limits that you're going to have to get down to so you don't kill somebody. Yet you got people just flying by you at about 90 miles an hour. Today, I watched some moron just slide and stop like an inch from just crushing the back of this other car in front of it.
So I have, what is the purpose? You bring this up on 24. And 24 is really the only thoroughfare that I've seen these on. They have the rotating or changeable speed limit, right?
Yes.
The variable speed limit.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes it says 30 miles an hour.
Sometimes.
And sometimes it says 70 miles an hour.
Right.
And it has been my personal experience, Ken, and I don't travel 24. I probably can count on both hands and both feet because I avoid it like the plague because I hear stories from you folks that have to travel on it.
Yeah.
So every time I've been on it, when it says 70, the traffic's going 20, and when it says 30, the traffic's going 80.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't
I don't understand what those things are for.
Yeah, well, it's telling you what it's telling you is that traffic is backed up ahead of you.
Uh-huh.
So start slowing down
Yeah,
now.
might want to slow down.
So you don't kill somebody.
Well, can I tell you something, Ken?
Yes, sir.
It doesn't work.
Well,
I don't think.
fortunately,
I'm pretty sure.
it did for this moron today and these poor people in front of him. It's just something else, man. It just is what it is. I've tried all kinds of different ways to get around it. Like one night, I decided I was just going to take 65 all the way down to 840, then 840 over to Vietnam veterans, over in Nashville to go home.
That didn't work.
No.
Well, it just ate up more gas.
So
But
long.
I will say this. On 65, there doesn't seem to be as much construction traffic.
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't seem to be just vast amounts of dump trucks or just, trucks with a bunch of equipment in the back that seem to be hanging out the sides.
All right, so this might not be a good question for today because we got so much going on.
We do.
But this is a question that I want to explore one of these days because I'm still relatively new. I'm 3 years in almost, right?
Yes, sir.
December 13th.
Why is 24? Is it Murfreesboro?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why it is? Why is 24 so much worse?
I think that's where most of the affordable housing is.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the working man and woman used to be able to afford to live. As like I told you earlier today, man, you were looking at some places. I said, you better hurry.
Stay away from Pegram. Y'all stay away from Pegram. And I shouldn't say this out loud on the radio. Y'all stay away from Ashland City.
They got real big spiders over there that can fly.
They'll kill you. They got camel spiders over there.
Yeah, they'll kill you dead.
You know what I've heard about? It was over in Ashland City. Chupacabra. Y'all stay away from over there.
Look out. Yeah, because
Loch Ness monster's
Loch Ness.
coming next.
yeah, and she's learned how to walk on the land.
Pegram City monsters over there.
Yeah.
And
Bigfoot taught her.
Well, I tell you what, dude, you're brave for hopping on your chopper out in this. I can't believe people ride motorcycles on these interstates here, man.
don't tell. Well, here's the thing. I have an admission to make, and this is not. I'm not proud of this.
Okay.
But it is a fact. You know how some people get an adrenaline rush from jumping out of airplanes?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And some people get an adrenaline rush from whatever. And it's I get a tremendous. I love going out in the country on my motorcycle.
Oh, I bet.
I love it.
Out in the country, yes.
That is a particular feeling.
Yes,
that
sir.
is wind therapy and just letting it go.
Freedom.
And just freedom. That's exactly right. You maybe listen to a little music in your headphone, whatever, little earbuds.
Mm-hmm.
When you drive in traffic on the interstate, it's a different thing. And I like it. And it's an adrenaline rush. It is almost a high because it is a constant state of stimulus.
Yes.
It is a constant state of awareness. It is a constant state of you better speed up to get out of trouble or slow down to keep out of trouble because you are constantly thwarting death.
Well, and I mean, here's the thing. It's not even the cars you got to worry about. Like I said, tire tools and rocks.
Oh, my goodness. Potholes, baby.
Potholes.
Potholes big enough to fit your damn Harley in.
Yes, sir.
Those will kill you. Those will kill you.
Yeah.
Hey, I know we're getting close to break, but I have to, and I support you on this show. That's my job.
Thank you.
But when you do something this egregious, I'm sorry, but I have to call you out. And I've had multiple, at this point, questions from the listening audience as to what's going to happen with Frajay and when that's going to appear and if you've just basically taken it away from the noon to 3 crowd.
Yes. Oh, God. For now. I mean, it'll be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Fridays.
Yes, sir.
So we still have
there
it.
we go. There
We should do Thursdays.
I think Bell. Hey, Bell.
Yeah.
You're looking like a lobster because you're being a little shellfish.
Yes. I'm being shellfish on behalf of the noon to 3 crowd.
Dad jokes, man. So, yeah, I mean, for now, yes, we're going to have Frajay at 4 o'clock in the afternoons when we shift over to the afternoon slot. So my apologies to those of you who cannot listen. Hopefully, many of you can. And if you can't, there's always podcast availability and other things going on. But thank you for listening out and looking out for our noon to 3 years on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Real quick, it's Locks for Trump Day 255 for 255 days. I've been growing out this hair for Donald Trump in anticipation of having a new president-elect. I was released 1 week ago today from my obligation not to cut my hair. I'm trying to figure that out. I think we're going to keep it long until Inauguration Day just to make sure. I got to make sure they don't do something weird. I'm suspicious. And I'll tell you why I'm suspicious. 10 million votes. Where did the 10 million votes go? And why is nobody talking about it? More on that coming up in a moment. So Locks for Trump Day 255. It's also day 692 of our visits together on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I've loved every single one. Well, there were two that I didn't care for, but most of them I've loved very much. Episode 692 can be found on 99.7 FM, on our many streaming platforms, on our own app. Download our app and take us wherever you go at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And, of course, there's Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Headless Bell, I think they caught the janitor. One of our listeners caught the janitor in the background. He thinks it's you. I told him it wasn't. It's a common thing because the dude has long hair like you. But anyway, Headless Bell is headless for a reason. He does not participate on the television side of things, but he does offer us our title. And today's episode 692 is entitled...
I had to truncate it a little bit, but Matt Murphy, the GOP has Congress and the presidency. How will they squander it? Listen and discover.
Yeah, well, 3 full hours. Show starts at noon. All right, we've got the Trump list, the official Trump list and the unofficial Trump list as to appointments to the cabinet and other political posts in Washington, D.C. and beyond.
I got a new one.
Oh, do you?
It is confirmed.
Let's go.
Well, this is, we've been hearing about it, but it is confirmed. Trump just posted it. Congressman Mike Waltz is hereby appointed to serve in my cabinet as my national security advisor.
Love that. That sounds good.
This is a decorated Army Special Forces veteran.
No, he's I like him. I obviously in that capacity and in that role, you're going to be much more focused on foreign policy entanglements and that sort of thing. And that's all well and good. I love it. I love that appointment. I didn't know a lot about Mike Waltz until I did a bit of a deep dive last evening. Obviously, that joins Tom Homan and others. We'll run down the list for you in just a moment. That's official from Donald Trump. We'll talk about the unofficial appointments as well and what that means for the future of the Trump cabinet and the United States of America by extension. And we'll do that next. It's 24 After on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for Efficient Heating and Cooling. Efficient Heating and Cooling is owned and operated by Jeff Eddy. I like to say if your heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy for good reason. Jeff Eddy will come out and fix what ails that heater. Here's the deal, folks. You don't want to spend money that you don't need to spend to replace your heater if it's not time or you don't need to at this time. Jeff Eddy's going to tell you the straight dope on your heating situation. In other words, he'll tell you when it's time to replace. He'll tell you if you can get new life out of this thing for the next year or two. It might be something simple. Hey, fix this and you're good to go for the next 5 or 10 years. Otherwise, he's going to tell you where you are in terms of the life cycle of your heater, and you can trust him. And that's key. Trusting Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling to do the right thing every time. They never charge you over $125 for a maintenance call, no matter how many units you might have on your residential property. Plus, when it's time, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and they can help you select that heating unit that is just right for you. Go to efficienthvac.net, efficienthvac.net, or 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient.
Well, the president of Israel is at the White House today. That and more coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. It is the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour in progress on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pardon me. My apologies. I know that squeaked. That's so rude. 1228, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Does it feel like more than a week? It's only been a week. It only took a week for Republicans to start yelling at each other. Why is that? Now, maybe there's a little bit of reason. Maybe there's a little reason to yell. Maybe there's a little reason to get upset. But sometimes I pull back and I wonder, why is it that in the midst of or in the aftermath of a huge conservative / GOP victory, and I'm not a member of the Republican Party. I would not belong to any party that would have me as a member, as Groucho Marx used to say. But I just find the dynamic interesting that as soon as there is a collective victory along these lines, immediately the Republicans begin to start subdividing and destroying themselves again. And it's an odd dynamic to me. But as I said yesterday, it seems to me that most of this could be avoided by asking yourself, if you are a Republican and you were just elected to public service, whether in the House of Representatives or in the United States Senate, it doesn't seem to be a hard task right now. Ask yourself, what would Trump do? And do that. This is Donald Trump's mandate. Donald Trump is not a king. Donald Trump is not an authoritarian. Donald Trump could not be a tyrant if he wanted to be. The Constitution of the United States of America remains the supreme law of the land, and the rule of law stands above even the President of the United States of America. Always has and always will, at least as far as we hold on to it and keep it. I believe in Donald Trump because I believe that he will operate under the confines of the Constitution of the United States of America and make America a better place as a result. And he has many allies in D.C. to help him do that. However, this nonsense about the Senate majority leadership post is just that. It's nonsense. We don't need I don't use the term RINO a lot because I think that's in the eye of the beholder, and I'm not a part of that club. I don't tell Republicans what Republicans are and what Republicans aren't. I just don't. I tell you what is conservative and what's not conservative. I'll tell you what's libertarian and what's not libertarian. I'll tell you what those things mean to me and how we can apply those in the real world. But I leave that up to Republicans to decide. I mean, it's up to Republicans to figure out what a Republican is and what a Republican in name only is, right? At this stage in American politics, I think the phrase RINO is just being used to insult people. If you agree with a Republican every time, 99 times out of 100, if you agree with a Republican 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times, and then you don't agree with them, does that make them a RINO, or does that mean that y'all just disagree on one singular issue? More on that in just a moment. I've got to get to the news. It's 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes, and President-elect Trump has just confirmed another appointment to his cabinet. Florida Congressman Mike Waltz is National Security Advisor. Trump posted to Truth Social that Waltz is the first Green Beret to have been elected to Congress, previously served in the White House and Pentagon. The president of Israel is at the White House today in the middle of the war on Hamas in Gaza. Isaac Herzog praising President Biden.
We have 101 hostages, over 400 days. I know, Mr. President, that you're day in, day out actively seeking their safe return home as they are going through hell in the dungeons of Gaza.
Now, last month, the Biden administration gave Israel a 30-day window to surge food and emergency aid into Gaza, with a warning that a failure to address this issue could trigger U.S. laws requiring restrictions on military aid to Israel. That deadline is today. When the Senate votes tomorrow on its leadership, Senator Rick Scott, an avid Trump supporter, will have at least one vote. Tennessee U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty.
I called John Thune and John Cornyn before I called Rick Scott to tell them both that I was going to be endorsing Rick Scott. They weren't surprised.
Hagerty speaking this morning with Dan Mandis on WTN's Nashville's Morning News. Analysts say Hagerty may still be on a short list for Treasury Secretary in the new administration. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
What an incredible deal Craft Body Scan has set up for the month of November. They give thanks to all of you and thanks to this community. They became a part of the community several years ago, and since 2017, they've been helping people just like you get inside of your body in a non-invasive fashion through the CT scan technology that is now available in Nashville with Craft Body Scan and finding out what's going on. It's a simple and non-invasive way to check your heart and your lungs, and right now, a couple's heart and lung scan is only $149. These scans normally run around $2,500, and they are game changers. We've heard stories about people whose lives have been saved by getting a CT scan through Craft Body Scan, finding something before they were symptomatic and catching it early. It's so key to catch these things early in your life. So this month, take a proactive step toward better health through early detection. Craft Body Scan. Get your couple's heart and lung scan today by going to togetherwescan.com. That's togetherwescan.com. Or call 615-436-1000, 436-1000.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We continue, Matt Murphy and you, until 3, The Drive with Brian Wilson. Brian back in the saddle, starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon. All afternoon long, news headlines, traffic updates. We'll keep you updated on everything you need to know on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and we thank you for being here. Joe Biden is absolutely off his rocker. I go back and forth on this. Hold on, I got to get my X account pulled up because that's where I'm pulling this audio from. But he's in the White House today. You know, sometimes it's easy to forget with all of the excitement of everything else going on that he is still the president of the United States of America. And maybe that's in name only. And you know, look, whatever makes you feel better about how this is happening. But it's scary as hell, if you ask me. He was Prime Minister of Israel's in town, right? And Joe... President of Israel's in town. Thank you. And so it's not Netanyahu, but so this has obviously precipitated a White House visit, and Joe was asked. It's hard to hear Joe's response, but I will tell you what he says, and I'll play it for you again. Listen, this is right before they shuttled the media out of the, this might be the Oval Office or one of those, green room, yellow room, whatever it is, somewhere in the White House. And listen to the question and listen to Joe's answer.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
I think you can get hit in the head by a camera behind you. All right. Thank you all.
The reporter asks, do you think you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term? Joe Biden's response was, do you think you can keep from getting hit in the head by that camera behind you? Now, I suppose if I wanted to be charitable, I would say that is Joe Biden making a joke. That's being charitable. The only other excuse for him to say that is because he's a blithering idiot that doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground and he has stage whatever dementia. But even if I am to be charitable and suggest that this is Joe Biden making a joke, we're going to make a joke about American hostages? We're going to make a joke about Israeli hostages? We're going to make how about I'm going to do everything in my power to make that happen? Listen again.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
I think you can get hit in the head by a camera behind you. All right. Thank you all.
Well, we see that Joe's doing well in the aftermath of his party going down in flames and defeat a week ago. We see that Joe has a command of the issues, so much so that he has an ability to answer a serious question regarding we have had hostages in terrorist custody, American hostages, for over a year. And Joe doesn't seem to care. One of the reasons that Kamala Harris got her butt handed to her a week ago is because she couldn't figure out where she was on this issue with American hostages overseas in terrorist hands. Now, I know right now as we speak, there is a lot of discussion about who should be in this cabinet position or that cabinet position. And I'm going to give that a full-throated treatment at 1:05 this afternoon. But on this issue, I like a little moral clarity. And I understand that some of you don't care for Marco Rubio. I've never minded Marco Rubio in the fashion that some of you do. But I would particularly not mind Marco Rubio if he's working in a Trump administration, because I think there's one guy that makes decisions in the Trump administration. One. Everyone else is there to carry out. You know what being a true leader is? And say what you will about this guy. Steve Jobs said this years ago, and I'm paraphrasing him. A true innovator, a true entrepreneur, a true leader, you surround yourself with competent, capable, and smart people, and you provide them a direction and a vision. True leadership is about ideas, innovation, and recruitment.
and vision. And I could even boil that down to recruitment and vision. You recruit the smartest, most capable people on planet Earth, and then you provide them the vision that you want them to carry out, and then you let them go to carry it out. And if that's what we're talking about with the Trump cabinet, I don't get nearly the amount of heartburn that some do. But on the heels of Joe Biden making a joke about American hostages and Israeli hostages, it merits bringing this back up. I posted it up on my X Machine page, at Matt Murphy Show. If you've not followed me yet, you need to, at Matt Murphy Show. Marco Rubio from last year, this is about a year ago, when some liberal reporter demanded that he call for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Senator Rubio, will you call for a ceasefire
No, I will
in
not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Senator Rubio,
Are you filming it?
wait,
So I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians
I
that are
blame
being
Hamas.
killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you
underneath
don't care
civilians.
that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being
I
killed
think
every
it's
day?
horrifying. I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
So
How about that? That's good stuff. That was good stuff a year ago and is good stuff today. Now, notice that Marco Rubio does not, and I'm not here to sell you on the guy. That's Donald Trump's job if he decides that he wants him to be Secretary of State. I voted for Donald Trump, and I trust that Trump will put the cabinet together that he needs. But I like that guy because that guy didn't call for American troops to go into Israel. That guy didn't call for American troops to go to the Middle East. That guy said, let Israel do its business. Israel can handle this if we just let them. And everything that happens from then until now, is the fault of Hamas. Every single person that dies in Gaza, that's the fault of Hamas. It's not the fault of Israel. In the meantime, you got Joe Biden worried about reporters getting hit in the head. You know, I mean, well, it's a real problem. Can be.
President Biden, do you think that you can cut a hostage deal by the end of your term?
I think you can get hit in the head by a camera behind you.
That's cute. That's cute, Joe. That's cute. You're still president of the United States of America, whether you know it or not.
Wow.
I mean, you think he can keep getting hit in the head by that camera? So you either just are so out of it that that's just what you say, or you're making a joke about our hostages still overseas.
Goodness.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice, Weaver? Just make that. Anything you can keep. You know, how about this? How about I'm going to do everything in my power to get the hostages home as soon as possible?
Yeah.
That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. Whew.
Yeah.
You know, I go back and forth on this guy because some people are like, ooh, conspiracy theory. Joe's going to step aside. Joe has no interest in stepping aside. Joe feels like he was stabbed in the back by Kamala Harris. Why would he give her the gift of being the first black female president of the United States of America by stepping aside? He has no interest in doing that. Besides, he's got to get busy writing up those pardon papers for Hunter. Oh, that's coming. A Murphy prediction that will merit a Murphy was right song when it happens, because that's coming. Now, Joe is not stepping aside, but part of me is like, maybe that would be best because he is not. I'm just worried about the next, what is it, 67 days, 68 days, something like that. I'm worried. I'm worried that some bad actors are going to try to do some bad thing in the United States of America under his watch because they know that he isn't watching. And oh, by the way, retribution is coming. The terrorists who are in this country right now, and they are here, the people that have come across our southern border to do bad things to good people, and they are here, they know that retribution is coming. Hell's coming. Hell's coming. You don't think that they're going to act before it comes? We better watch ourselves. We are in a very dangerous zone between now and January on Inauguration Day. This is a dangerous time in America because I don't believe we have a leader. Danielle wants to talk to us about the RINO definition, and I'm glad she called in. Hey, Danielle. Thank you.
Hi there.
Hello.
I just want to express that a RINO is absolutely a very real thing. It's not just for an insult. There are candidates that I firmly believe they run as a Republican just because that's the only way they can win. And you know what they do? They vote Democrat when they get in office. And even on this day, just a short time ago, even this hour, I heard you say, and you know this, about Joe Biden being president right now, you said, quote, in name only, quote, and you weren't insulting him. You were just calling it what it was. So I would say thank you for all you do, first of all, but I'd say it's a mistake to think that this strategy has not been used. A RINO is a very real thing.
Can you, who comes to mind?
Several, and I pay attention, but I don't pay attention like you are. It's not my full-time job. I've been disappointed in the way in which several Republicans have sided with Democrats multiple times, particularly when Trump was in office before. Here's the thing is I have some of these names in mind. I don't want to knock them too much. Some of them are right here in our state, but there's Kentucky, there's Florida, there's a few. But my main point in calling you is to call them a RINO is not just for insult. It's a very real thing. I do believe that people have run in this country as a Republican because it's the only way they could actually get elected in their area.
No, I believe that too. I believe that too. I think that the phrase, and perhaps I oversimplified my position on it. And I'm glad you called though, Danielle, because it's an important point that you're making. The phrase, I think, has come to be an insult. And I think it oversimplifies issues in a way that I don't care for. And that's just my opinion. And here's what I mean. That if a Republican in Washington, D.C., I won't pick any names because I don't want to seem like I'm picking on people. But if a Republican in D.C. says something or does something that I disagree with, okay, does that automatically make them a RINO? For some people, it does. And I don't think that's what a RINO. So I think Republicans have the ability to disagree. I think. I mean, I'm not part of that club necessarily, so I just kind of observe from outside of it. But so I think it does. Let me give you an example. I understand that Marsha Blackburn's frustrating a lot of people in Tennessee right now. I do, and she's frustrating me with her lack of an ability to tell us where she is on this Senate Majority Leader deal. But I think it is a gross oversimplification to say that Marsha Blackburn and Mitt Romney are the same person. Does that make sense, what I said?
Thank you for explaining that. And here's where I'll agree. It's perhaps that it's being overused. But I'll give you credit today because when you said it about Joe Biden being president and you think it's in name only, you were right. You were right today. But someone might overuse that and use it in an inappropriate time.
Well, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it to be true, and
Exactly.
it's kind of one off on Joe. But I know I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and I think there's room for this discussion, particularly now because now that Republicans have an ability to chart the future over the next 4 years and at least the next 2 years. And thank you, Danielle. I got to run. Bell's telling me I got to get to a break. I mean, obviously, the next 2 years, as long as we hold on to the House, I mean, it's an opportunity, open opportunity. But I would warn you, where the rubber meets the road will determine who the RINOs are and who they aren't. And I'm going to tell you what I mean in a moment, because I've been here before. I've seen it where Republicans take the White House and take the Senate and take the House and then do nothing with it. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
President-elect Trump confirms another cabinet appointment. That and more coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, where did the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour go? It just went away. It just went away. So we've got another hour to go. We're going to give you all of the reports on all of the different appointments and announcements coming out of Team Trump. There's a new one involving Israel that perhaps we'll tell you about. Border czar, national security, EPA, deputy chief of staff, UN ambassador, all coming down the pike just a week into the transition to Donald Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. It is the top of the hour right now. Time for the news with Ken Weaver. Back in a moment.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Well, President-elect Trump has just confirmed another appointment to his cabinet. Florida Congressman Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor. Trump posts to Truth Social, Waltz is the first Green Beret to have been elected to Congress and previously served in the White House and Pentagon. He served in the Army Special Forces for 27 years, where he was deployed several times in combat, for which he was awarded 4 Bronze Stars, including 2 with Valor. And House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's optimistic the House will stay in Republican control, even with all of the Trump appointments.
I don't expect that we will have more members leaving, but I'll leave that up to him. But yes, are we talking about it? Yes, all the time.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio has reportedly been tapped to be Secretary of State. Israeli President Isaac Herzog is at the White House today, his final visit during the Biden administration.
You've been an incredible friend of Israel and the Jewish people for decades. And we will never forget, ever in history, how you stood up with us in our darkest hour, which became our finest hour, how you came to Israel a few days after the barbaric attack of October 7th, how you helped us and supported us with words and deeds.
Last month, the Biden administration gave Israel a 30-day window to surge food and emergency aid into Gaza, with a warning that a failure to address the issue could trigger U.S. laws requiring restrictions on military aid to Israel. That deadline is today. President-elect Trump still has a pending sentencing coming up in New York after he was convicted of 34 felony counts related to hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. The judge on the case, Juan Merchan, has now given the DA's office until November 19th to decide how they may want to proceed, whether they are going to make any particular recommendations now that Trump is president-elect. And headed to the inbox at the Federal Communications Commission, an open letter from more than 100 scientists demanding a temporary halt to satellite launches. Jim Ryan says they're concerned about the potential environmental impact of the world's new space race.
3, 2, 1.
At Florida's Cape Canaveral Monday, spectators were treated to not 1,
3, 2, 1. Ignition.
but 2 SpaceX launches, one carrying a Korean communications satellite, the other hauling 24 Starlink satellites into orbit. In their letter to the FCC, the astronomers complained that no study has been done on the effect of mega constellations of satellites on air quality, on the risk to people on Earth, and the danger to astronauts aboard the International Space Station.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Are you currently living in pain? Are you tired of it? I bet you are. If you are living in pain, if you feel like no one's really listening to you, you have two choices when it comes to your care. Or you have multiple choices, I should say, when it comes to your care. At the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, they do things a little bit differently. And I want to talk to you about that. They take the time to listen, to understand, and to create a personalized solution just for you. What would you do if your pain was gone? You know, I was in your position. I don't just talk about them on the radio. I'm also a patient at the Dr. Gill Center. And I trusted this team with my personal health, and I believe you can trust them with yours. You don't have to settle for a clinic that doesn't put you first. Choose the place that listens, that cares, that has a team approach. Dr. Gill created this team on his own. He created the team of Dr. Gill, Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and the rest of the team at the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. And they can help you overcome that pain without having to pop pills, without having to shoot up with needles, and without having to consider surgery. That's what it's all about. CallMePainFree.com. CallMePainFree.com. 615-882-4838. 882-4838. It feels like we're getting new announcements hot and heavy. Matt Murphy Show continues. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I've got a brand new one for you. And if Ken Weaver went over this one in the newscast, I apologize because I was distracted. Donald Trump, in a statement on Truth Social moments ago, I am pleased to announce that the highly respected former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, has been nominated to be the United States ambassador to Israel. Mike has been a great public servant, governor, and leader in faith for many years. He loves Israel and the people of Israel, and likewise, the people of Israel love him. Mike will work tirelessly to bring about peace in the Middle East. Donald Trump, some 45 minutes ago on his Truth Social, I am honored to announce that Congressman Mike Waltz is hereby appointed to serve in my cabinet as my national security advisor. Mike is the first Green Beret to have been elected to Congress and previously served in the White House and Pentagon. Mike served in the Army Special Forces for 27 years, where he was deployed multiple times in combat, for which he was awarded 4 Bronze Stars, including 2 with Valor. And it goes on to his biography. So those are 2 appointments that became official today.
I didn't have that Huckabee.
Yeah, that's brand new, Ken.
That is brand new.
That is hot off the Truth Social presses, as they say. So Mike Huckabee will be the ambassador to Israel under the Trump administration. This guy, let me tell you something. I haven't been this excited about the future of America in a long time. And I understand the last 4 years, it feels like we've been drifting listlessly in the wilderness. And 2020 was such it was such a disillusioning moment. Well, maybe so. And I want to reflect on that for a minute, and we'll get to some of the other appointments in a second. And by the way, right now as we speak, if you're down there listening to me on your earbuds or whatever, and you want to call us, it's my understanding that Marsha Blackburn's field office, there was a collection of voters that decided to get together at 1 o'clock today on Church Street in Nashville at Senator Marsha Blackburn's field office to express their desire that she select Rick Scott to be the Senate Majority Leader. This is altogether right and proper. And frankly, all of this, senators don't like to be pushed around. Senators don't like to be told what to do. I'm not speaking to any particular senator here. I'm not speaking to Marsha Blackburn specifically, necessarily. But if her people so happen to hear, let's lend an ear. To hell with that. You work for us. And you would serve yourself well to understand it. This holier-than-thou attitude is what Donald Trump, it's why he exists, in part. Because we believe that the government that we elect to serve federally particularly has lost its way. It's lost its understanding of who the bosses are and who the bosses aren't. And I understand that in her case, Senator Blackburn just received a mandate. I get it. That's great. But that doesn't mean that she ought not to be answerable to the people. And if someone is pulling her chain from inside of her staff circle or in her inner circle because of some prior issue that she or they might have with Rick Scott or some prior issue that she or they, positive or negative, might have with Mitch McConnell or whatever, then I think the people deserve to know that too. It's not that hard. It shouldn't be. Now, with all due respect to Senator Blackburn's office, I've spoken to them. I spoke to two sources in Senator Blackburn's office, both of whom told me the same thing, that Senator Blackburn has not made a decision about where she is on the Senate Majority Leader position. I don't believe her. That is my right. That doesn't mean I hate her. That doesn't mean I dislike her. That doesn't mean that I don't think she's a good senator or can do good things. I mean, when did it become untoward or wrong for me to tell you the truth about what my heart and my gut tells me? I do not believe for a moment that Senator Marsha Blackburn doesn't have a position on this right now. What that is, or, well, I won't say what it is. Because, I'm not trying to cut anybody's nose off to spite their face or whatever. I'm not trying to cast aspersions. I'm not suggesting that Marsha's a bad person. I just don't understand, after serving the length of time that she served in the United States Senate with John Thune and John Cornyn. We know where they are. They threw Trump under the bus the first opportunity that they had. Look at their Heritage Foundation score. Look at their conservative scorecard. And you tell me, who's the natural pick? Here's the thing. This is as easy as it gets. Call Donald Trump and ask him who he believes will best serve the Trump agenda as Senate Majority Leader in the Senate, and then vote for that guy. Now, we don't get to pick a candidate that hasn't thrown their hat in the ring, and I understand some people are like, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, whatever. They don't want to be Senate Majority Leader. You got to want it. As far as this secret ballot nonsense goes, I don't know why it is. I think it comes from a day where the Senate considered themselves to be more important than any of their voters even. It is a long-standing tradition that the majority leader post or the leadership post in either political party is cast on a secret ballot. I wouldn't mind so much the Senate telling me, and I was talking to Chris Hand about this earlier today in the Cross, I wouldn't mind so much if the Senate said, listen, we're not going to talk about how we're voting until it happens, and then afterwards, after the votes happened and after the ballots have been cast, we will release how your particular senator voted. I think any senator unwilling to tell you how they voted in this majority leader race is unqualified to be a United States senator. Let me say that one more time so that all of you backbenchers can hear it. Anyone sitting in the United States Senate that is not willing to tell their constituents how they voted on the Senate Majority Leader race does not deserve to be a United States senator. That includes Marsha Blackburn, Bill Hagerty, and anybody else. You work for us. Your bosses want to know what decisions you are making. This nonsense about, oh, this is always the way that it's been, I don't want to hear it. That time is over. We expect you to be responsive to the will of the people. Now, You can do what you want. You just got reelected, some of you. And that's fine. And Ray, I'm aware. Bill Haggerty, yes, I'm aware. We said this yesterday. But I appreciate you alerting us to that. Bill Haggerty is on record as how he is voting. He is voting for Rick Scott. Now, we appreciate that. Thank you for alerting us. We talked about that yesterday on the show. I'm not faulting you for letting me know. I appreciate that. I'm just worked up. I'm worked up because this we deserve to know. Y'all don't deserve to know. We get to pick up. The Senate Majority Leader, why does this matter? And I want to make sure that you understand why it matters, okay? I think it was 2004, I believe that's right, when George W. Bush won re-election as president of the United States, and the Republicans won the House majority and they had the Senate majority. And with that mandate, we felt like that we could really get some things accomplished. And in my lifetime doing this, what I do, it really is one of the reasons that I don't belong to any of these clubs in Washington, D.C. Because I heard it, in 2000. Prior to the election of 2000, I heard, man, oh, man, if we just get the White House, boy, we're going to do something with that thing. And so, when Al Gore was running against, and I just started in talk radio, and I was listening to all of the politicians say the same thing. Boy, if we just got that White House, we'd turn this country around. If you just give a Republican Party that White House, and we'll get it done. And we did. And we went, here's the White House. You said you'd get it done. Get it done. Well, we don't have a House of Representatives. We got to have that. If we had that House of Representatives, we could really get something done. We got the White House, but if we had the House of Representatives, then we could really get some things going. And so in 2002, guess what we gave them? The House of Representatives. And we're like, here you go. Now you got 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and you got the House of Representatives, just what you wanted. And they say, well, we don't have the Senate. We don't have the Senate. Boy, if we just had the Senate, we could get something done. And then we gave them the Senate. And then, you know what they said? Well, we don't have 60 votes in the Senate. If we just had 60 votes in the Senate, you see, we can't get anything done without a filibuster-proof majority. Like, is it always something with you people? Is it always something? You demand of the voters, and the voters give you what you say you need to accomplish the things that you claim you want to accomplish when you're out campaigning and begging for votes. And then we give you what you want, and it's always something. Let me tell you, I'm not putting up with it anymore, and you shouldn't either. There's no secret ballot. Not if you want to stay in Congress. Now, the reason that I demand that we know who Majority Leader is because of what I just described to you. Because as Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell played way too nice. Well, they've got the he wouldn't even make them filibuster. So when Republicans have control of the Senate, they never get a 60-vote majority, and they always say the same thing. Well, guys, we've got the filibuster, and it's a very important thing. And I understand the filibuster is important, especially when you're in the minority. The filibuster is a cooling off mechanism, and it's a very important component of our constitutional republic. But there comes a time when you have to demand of the other. What they do down there, they don't demand that they actually filibuster. Here's what happens. So the Republicans have the majority. We got, 53 seats in the Senate now? And so the Democrats say, well, you don't bring up that immigration bill or we're going to filibuster. And you know what the Republicans do? They go, well, we can't bring up the leader, Mitch McConnell, does this. So Mitch McConnell's got the bill. He's going to put the bill on the calendar. Let's say it's an immigration bill. Hey, we're going to put this bill on the calendar. And the Democrats and Chucky Schumer and all his boys over there and girls, they say, well, if you do that, we're going to filibuster. Now, what is a filibuster? It is preventing movement on passage of a bill in the United States Senate by holding the floor of the Senate. They don't even make them do it anymore. What we need is a majority leader that when the minority party says they're going to filibuster, you know what you say? All right, have at it, boys. Y'all get on the floor and y'all do it. And when y'all talk yourselves out, whether it's 12 hours or 14 or 28 or 62, then we're going to vote on this bill. Instead, they play nice. Oh, well, they said they were going to filibuster, and we really want to go home for a long weekend, and I've got a golf game this weekend, and we can't really be bothered to stay up here this week. So if they say they're going to filibuster, let's just go ahead and take them at their word. No, make them do it. There are other ways to demand. See, if you make them do it, the way that you break a filibuster is to have a supermajority of the body bust up the filibuster by seizing control of the floor. Well, if you don't make them filibuster, and it has to be members present. It can't be voting members, total voting members. It has to be members present when you do it that way. Now, I know I'm being incredibly detailed and I'm in the weeds, but I'm trying to help you understand, for those of you in Aniana, why Senate Majority Leader is important. You either play ball with the Democrats or you don't. And we need somebody that's going to advance the ball down the field for the conservative movement that Donald Trump represents. No more secret ballots. No more playing nice. Force it to the floor. If they're going to filibuster in the Senate, which they have the right to do, make them do it. And make them sit on the floor and make them hold the floor with voting members present on the floor. And they don't do that anymore because they're so nice. Everybody's nice, and they're all lazy. Not all of them. I take it back. Most of them are lazy. I mean, I'm not trying to be nasty. It's true. They don't want to have to put in that hard work because if you made the Democrats filibuster, guess what the Republicans have to do? They have to sit their butts on the floor of the Senate too. And wait for about 5 Democrats to walk out of the floor and then somebody gavel in a point of order and say, I want to vote and see we have a supermajority to break this filibuster up. That's the way you do it, but they don't do it that way anymore. A real Senate Majority Leader would. You think John Thune's going to do that? He's a McConnell butt boy. Can I say that on the radio?
No.
I cannot. Okay. Well, then I will not call him a McConnell butt boy again. You know what? I'm going to take a 5-minute suspension for what I said. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The U.S. taking action after bullets riddled 2 flights to Haiti. Trump transition update. More appointments confirmed. How much money do you think you can save with generic brands for Thanksgiving dinner? All this and more coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, fresh off my 5-minute suspension, it's Matt Murphy and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 28 minutes after the hour. I've calmed down a little bit. Here's the deal, folks. A week ago, Marsha Blackburn in Cool Springs, Tennessee, Franklin, Tennessee. Marsha Blackburn stood before the people of this state who just reelected her to her post in the United States Senate and told us that the job belongs to the people, that the seat belongs to the people. Act like it. The people want Rick Scott, ma'am. Your constituents want Rick Scott. We do not want John Thune. We don't want to hear excuses. We don't want to hear about a secret ballot. We don't want John Cornyn. I don't care what relationships your people have had with some of these people. I understand all of the rumors that are going on right now, and I could talk about every single one of them, Marsha, but I choose not to because I have respect for you. But let me promise you this. Let me promise all of you that have been blowing me up this in her office. I'll look right in the camera when I say it. Let me promise you this. If you don't tell us how you voted, and if you vote for Thune or Cornyn, I'm going to tell everybody why. That's a promise. And you can not like it, and you can cut me off, and you can do all of that. I don't talk for you, and I don't represent you, and I don't speak truth for you. I do it for the people of this state and for the people of the United States. And they sent a mandate to Washington, D.C. And John Thune is not it. John Cornyn is not it. They are the people that are frustrating the hell out of average Americans who want you to get the job done. They're swampers, ma'am. You're either a swamper or you're not. You either believe in the Trump agenda or you don't. And don't tell me about being bullied around. Don't tell me about, I don't want to be bullied. You work for us, lady. We don't work for you. And I'm not trying to be rude. I promise you, some of you think I'm being rude. I'm not trying to be rude. I am sick of these people who a week ago told us it was our seat and now tell us that we don't deserve to know how they're voting.
Politicians deserve to be bullied.
You got that right. And so let me tell you, I'm going to tell everything come Thursday. And I'm not threatening anybody except with the truth. And that is where I stand on that. There's good news. And you know what? And I don't get a lot of heartburn over Marco Rubio, guys. I don't. I know some of you do. The float is that he might be maybe Secretary of State. Maybe. There's been some negative reaction. We'll talk about that next, right after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now, the United States just announced it's banning flights to Haiti after 2 planes were hit by gunfire at the airport in Port-au-Prince. JetBlue and Spirit planes struck by gunfire as they approached Haiti, said to be fired by Haitian gangs on the ground. This ban is for 30 days. Trump transition. President-elect Trump just confirmed he is appointing former governor of Arkansas Mike Huckabee to be United States ambassador to Israel. He also confirmed today that Army Special Forces combat veteran Florida Republican Congressman Mike Waltz is national security advisor. And House Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana says he believes Republicans will maintain control in the new Congress even with these appointments.
I know he's already pulled a few really talented people out of the House, hopefully no more for a little while, until special elections can come.
Yeah, the GOP appears poised to hold on to a slim majority. They're within striking distance. They would need to pick up just 2 more races. President Biden hosting Israeli President Isaac Herzog at the White House for the last time.
Welcome back to the Oval Office in the White House. You've been a friend for a long time, a personal friend, and you know my commitment to Israel is ironclad, and we share a deep friendship.
Well, last month, Biden gave Israel a 30-day window to surge food and emergency aid into Gaza with a warning that a failure to address this risked more U.S. military assistance. That deadline is today. And Thanksgiving is right around the corner. One group has a tip on how families can save on the turkey stuffing and more. Ariel Reshef has more on a new report on prices from Wells Fargo's Agri-Food Institute that shows buying more generic brands could save about $17 for the whole dinner.
As far as whether to choose generic or brand name for each of the dishes, here's what the report says. You may want to splurge on the turkey and the stuffing because the brand names are only a few dollars more. It's the other way around, though, for the cranberries. The brand name are actually cheaper than the generic. And as for the salad and the dinner rolls, experts say go with the generic store brands for major savings.
I don't need cranberries. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Gentlemen, if you're low energy and you don't know why, if you've lost a step or two at the gym and you don't know why, if you have lost a step or two in the bedroom and you don't know why, it's time to go to Tennessee Men's Clinic. They've been here since 2014, and they are so good at diagnosing issues involving men's health, particularly issues involving T levels, but beyond that as well, and finding a solution that's right for you. And that's something you need to know. The solutions vary from man to man as you come through the doors. So depending on your circumstances and what is causing your issues, whether it's at the gym or in the yard or, yes, in intimate times with your significant other, you can get relief through the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Find out how by going to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Or schedule an appointment. 2 convenient locations, one in Midtown, the other in Cool Springs in the Franklin area. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or 615-208-9090. 208-9090 for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you follow me on the X machine, and I encourage you to, at Matt Murphy Show, MattMurphyShow. I'll try to calm down for a minute. I know the yelling gets people itchy, but I get very excited. I'm very passionate. I'm a bulldog, but I'm your bulldog. I bite for you. Sometimes when we disagree, you won't feel that way, but I promise you, I bite for you. I don't bite for bite. Well, anyway. But if you follow me over on the X machine, I posted up a buddy of mine by the name of Leland Whaley, who has been inside and outside of politics for a long, long time. When I was program director of Talk 99.5 in Birmingham, Alabama, I cajoled Leland to be my afternoon host in 2016, and he agreed to do so. He's been a long-time host to down there. Great guy. And he has written an op-ed on a platform that I used to write for, as a matter of fact, 1819 News, when I was back in Birmingham, Alabama. And he's expressing the same consternation, concern about Senator Katie Britt in Alabama. It's really a similar dynamic in Alabama as it is in Tennessee, where you have one senator, in our case, Senator Bill Hagerty, this morning on Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis, and he had previously announced this. We read the announcement yesterday, and he said it on our airwaves today. Tommy Tuberville like him, Senator Tommy Tuberville. Both of these guys are like, Donald Trump wants Rick Scott. Donald Trump needs Rick Scott. That's the agenda. Rick Scott's the guy. You know, no offense to anybody else, but that's who we're going with. We are very public about this issue. In Alabama, Senator Katie Britt, and in Tennessee, Senator Marsha Blackburn, they're not saying, oh, well, we need the best, and we need the good ones, and we need to get the Trump agenda going, and yeah, but what do we? We need to play nice with the money people? What? We need to play nice with our campaign consultants that we might share with Mitch McConnell, or what? What? What's the holdup? The American people offered a mandate, and that mandate was to promote and advance by any means necessary, the Trump agenda. And Donald Trump clearly laid out that agenda, and it's time to do that. Donald Trump, for his part, is on it. Border czar, Tom Homan, check. National security, Mike Waltz, check. EPA, Lee Zeldin, check. Deputy Chief of Staff on Policy, Stephen Miller, check. Susie Wiles is Chief of Staff, check. Elise Stefanik, United Nations Ambassador, check. Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, that's what we hear. Now, that has not been officially checked off by Donald Trump yet, but Ambassador to Israel has. Mike Huckabee, check. And we're hearing about Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and I understand that there's some concern about that. I have more to say on it in a moment, but right now, let's talk to Dave in Hendersonville. Hello, Dave.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm great, Dave. Thank you for calling.
Buddy, you're hitting it right there on the head.
Well, thank you, Dave.
Directly to Marsha Blackburn, Senator. If you vote any other way than Rick Scott, which is who President Trump wants, this is his agenda. We put him back in office because we knew he would do what the country needed done. If you vote any other way than Rick Scott, you will not only lose my vote, I guarantee you will lose more. Because I will be against you I will campaign to other people against you.
Well, here's the reality of it right now, Dave, and thank you for your call. Marsha Blackburn doesn't fear me. And she doesn't fear any of the voters right now because she thinks that we have short-term memories, and if she chooses to run again in 6 years, she feels like she's insulated from all of this, and that we'll all forget about what's going on now, and if we advance a good agenda and if good things happen, that she can reap some of the benefit of that. And I'm not saying she wouldn't be responsible for some of those things. But the time to stand up and declare yourself is right now, in a lawful and constitutional way. And I understand how elections work, and I understand that Marsha just got voted in by I voted for her. You probably voted for her. Whomever you are. Odds are, because I saw the totals. But I am elephantine. I do not forget. Samantha is next. Hey, Samantha, glad you called.
Hey, I was just kind of curious of all what was going on. I'd been kind of out of the loop the last few days, but you kind of just cleared it up with me listening. But here's the thing. I mean, she's taken that position, and whether she agrees or not, she needs to follow what her leadership is doing. So, I mean, if that's what President Trump wants to do, whether she likes it or not, she needs to just trust that he knows what's best and go with it. So, but you can continue to explain a little more if you want to, but that was pretty much my question.
Well, and stay there for just a second, Samantha. I want to make sure that I explain it. So, I mean, here's the nuance of it. So, Marsha ran on a Trump agenda, and she ran, she's her own person, and we have our own particular issues in the state of Tennessee. But broadly, this was a mandate for Trump last week, and Marsha ran saying that she was going to forcefully speak for the Trump agenda in Washington, D.C., speaking for the people of the state. And now there are 3 people that have put their names up for Senate leadership, and there's a secret vote that's going to happen tomorrow. And Marsha says that she is undecided, and there's 2 of these people have been really kind of anti-Trump over the years, John Cornyn and John Thune. They're Republicans, but they're kind of either negative toward Trump or have been neutral toward him. And there's one guy, Senator Rick Scott, who's not a perfect candidate by any stretch of the imagination. We can point out some things that he's done weird, but he has been pro-Trump from the beginning, and he is kind of the Trump guy. And so the issue is whether or not Marsha is going to support someone that will advance the Trump agenda, or if she's going to be secretive about it, maybe support somebody else. So. And I don't like secrecy in my politicians. That's where I get so worked up,
Yeah. Well, especially when she said that she was going to be, pushing the Trump agenda. That's what we all wanted. And then, that's basically she just lied. So
well, we're going to find out. And she puts herself, and Samantha, thank you for the call. And I'm glad Samantha called. She kind of resets me. I shouldn't get so frustrated or upset. Maybe I shouldn't. Because I should recognize that this is kind of a weedy conversation. It's very political and very weedy, but I tried to understand why, or I tried to help explain why I think it matters so much, why the Senate Majority Leader matters so much. You either are playing ball with the Democrats, or you are figuring out ways to overcome what will always be their objections to the Trump agenda and making it happen. And I, for one, am tired of the excuses. It's time to make it happen. How much do you need in order to accomplish the task? And I'm tired of the secrecy, and I think a lot of Americans are tired of the secrecy. I'm tired of the swamp. And this just doesn't it feel like when they say, oh, it's a secret ballot, you don't get to know. Doesn't that feel swampy? Just without knowing anything else, the people that you just sent to represent you in Washington, D.C. are telling you that you don't get to know how they're voting on something? It just feels weird, doesn't it? It does to me. But it's a good way to reset it, Samantha, because for me, it's up to her who she votes for. We elected her, and she gets to make her selection. But this idea that she doesn't know, I just don't believe it. I don't believe she doesn't know. I think she's trying to avoid talking about it before the vote. And it remains to be seen whether she's going to tell us. I suppose if it's truly a secret ballot, she doesn't have to tell us the truth. I would hope that she would. I think Marsha's an honest person, don't you guys? JD is next in the borough. Hey, JD.
How's it going, man?
What's up, man?
Hey, you've been hitting every nail on the head, bro.
Thank you, buddy.
You said it best. I don't want to feel like in my heart that she used me to get a vote by backing my president. You know, and I'm a Trump man, will always be a Trump man, and I want everybody in there that's going to be right to get his agenda done. And I put my faith in Marsha, you know, Miss Blackburn, and I'd like to think that she's going to do right by the people that put her in office. And if Mrs. Scott is what Trump wants, then that's what Trump gets, because I believe in him. And I don't want to see it go any other way. The other two guys, I don't trust them because all of the RINO crap that they've done. So.
No, I mean, and I can play. I mean, there's audio. They're on the record as saying that they want to pick somebody but Trump. I mean, they were just on. Look, I mean, it's up to the, and thank you, JD, for the call. It's up to the voters of South Dakota. It's up to the voters of Texas to figure out what they're going to do with Thune and Cornyn, right? That's up to them. But they were just on the wrong side of history. The American people disagreed with them. They decided they tried to do it in 2016. Thune did. And both Thune and Cornyn said that Trump was damaged goods, that he should not run, that it was bad news. No, we needed to move on. I can play you all the clips. I can quote you all the quotes. They said it was time to move on from Donald Trump. The American people disagreed. And let me be real clear. I don't know either of these people. I've never met either of these people. I don't know if they're good people or bad people or what. I know that they were on the wrong side of that history. And for that, they should not be rewarded a post as Senate Majority Leader. We should not reward senators that were on the wrong side of this. And if you're Marsha Blackburn, I think you need to tell her that. There's nothing wrong with telling her that. You're her boss. Well, senators don't like to be bullied by the angry mob. Well, y'all not to be senators because we're your boss. We pay that salary up there. Man, have y'all ever been to the Senate office building? Oh, it is unbelievable. Y'all don't even know if you've never been. Go to the Hart building. Go to the, the Russell office building. I was up there, kissing the ring of Richard Shelby, Senator Shelby, years ago. He was a long-standing senator. He was a part of the Appropriations Committee up there. He held the purse strings, boy. And you walk down those halls, and those House of Representative members, they have nice office buildings and they have nice offices, but it's nothing. These senators, being a United States senator, is the greatest job on planet Earth. Tell me I'm wrong. You are almost guaranteed incumbency. You have a lifelong job, and people up there treat them like they are kings and queens. They have like suites of offices, and they're palatial in their nature, and you have to go through this office and then that office, and there's 14 different people that greet you before you walk into the big guy's office, and there he is sitting on his throne. It's just gross. And I'm not saying we should not treat our elected leaders with the esteem they deserve. On occasion, it feels like they forget who they work for. We need to remind them of that right now before it's too late. 52 after the hour on Super Talk. Listen, friends, I absolutely love all of the sponsors that I have on the Matt Murphy Show, and I love talking about some of them from time to time. I have a special affinity for Men of Valor, I will admit it, because of the great work that they do. They go to the least of us. They go to those that are souls in trouble, and they try to repair those things. And I'm talking about our prison systems. I'm talking about going into those systems and talking to men that have done wrong by society and need to be punished by society, but most of these men are coming out, right? 90% of the guys that are in prison right now, the men that are in prison are coming out. And Men of Valor wants to know what type of men do we want coming out? Do we want individuals that are going to commit offenses again? Sadly, recidivism is a reality, and within 3 years, half of the people that get out of prison will go back. But when they go through the Men of Valor program, when they are discipled by good people like you and others, job partners, Bible study teachers, they drop that rate from 50% recidivism to less than 10%. It's incredible. Less than 10% of the graduates return to a life of crime or a life of prison. Will you join us in helping set captives free and making our community a safer place to live as a result, and ultimately saving us money? Men of Valor. Donate today or see how you can help by volunteering. MOVministry.com. That's MOVministry.com.
Trump transition update coming up at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. I ran out of time. You know, sadly, we asked and we were unable to have Senator Marsha Blackburn on the show prior to the vote tomorrow night, prior to this forum tonight, but she has been making the rounds on national media. I'll tell you what she said on Newsmax about the possibility of voting for Rick Scott coming up in just a moment. And we'll get your calls. Rhonda and Chuck, hang in there. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here comes Ken Weaver's news right now.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Trump transition news. 2 more appointments confirmed by President-elect Trump today. Former Governor Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel. Florida Congressman Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor. Trump posting to Truth Social. Waltz is the first Green Beret to have been elected to Congress. Previously served in the White House and Pentagon and served in the Army Special Forces for 27 years, where he was deployed several times in combat, for which he was awarded 4 Bronze Stars, including 2 with Valor. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's optimistic the House will stay in Republican control despite Trump's appointments.
President Trump fully understands and appreciates the math here, and it's just a numbers game. We believe we're going to have a larger majority than we had last time. It's too early to handicap it, but we're optimistic about that.
GOP's within striking distance. They would need to pick up just 2 more races. Today, President Biden's hosting Israeli President Isaac Herzog, and today happens to be the deadline set by Biden for Israel to increase aid to Gaza or risk losing some U.S. weapon shipments for its war on Hamas. Here's Karen Travers.
We've reached out to the National Security Council to see what this means, but I think it is a big question then about what the leverage the United States has over Israel. Again, because of that transition that is happening with the Trump team coming in, Donald Trump has a very strong relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So you could get a sense that perhaps on the Israeli side, they could just wait things out until January 20th.
Yeah, Herzog told Biden today a major objective of the remainder of his term in office and the incoming Trump administration should be dealing with Iran and its proxies in the region. And one day after bullets hit 2 U.S. airliners in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, the FAA is banning U.S. commercial flights from the country. The shots were reportedly fired by gang members who, in a video released Sunday, vowed more violence after the prime minister was replaced. As for when flights will resume, some airlines are predicting early December. Thanksgiving right around the corner, and one group has a tip on how you can save on the turkey stuffing and more. Ariel Reshef explains.
Wells Fargo Agri-Food Institute compared the prices of generic goods and brand names for the Thanksgiving meal. Well, if you're making dinner for 10 people and use all brand names, they estimate that might run you about $90. When it comes to the generic store labels, that same meal could cost you around $73, which is about a $17 savings.
One big issue this Thanksgiving, the shortage of air traffic controllers. This year, Thanksgiving travel expected to set records, expecting 36.5 million airline seats to be scheduled, a nearly 5% increase over last year. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Dr. Stephen Poss has added Dr. Brian McLaughlin to the team at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center, and they continue to grow as a result. I want to talk with you about your insurance for just a moment, because for most of you, now that we have reached November, you've met your insurance deductible. What a great time to talk to you about sleep apnea and the possibility of sleeping better tonight with an FDA-approved device that gently supports your jaw to help you sleep better and snore less, so your partner benefits as a result, and you get a better night's sleep. It is a dangerous situation to deal with sleep apnea on your own, and some of us, we just can't deal with the CPAP machine and the hose and all of those sorts of things. I know, because I am not just a spokesperson. I am a patient of the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center. Go see Dr. Poss. Go see Dr. McLaughlin. They have two locations, one in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro. If you've met that deductible or not, they're in network for BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and TRICARE for the military. It's Dr. Stephen Poss, Dr. Brian McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Go online to drposs.com. All right, let's get with it. Hour number 3 starts right now of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Matt Murphy back in my normal position, noon to 3. Brian Wilson back on the drive from 3 until 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, you got the interweb in there? You got the intraweb? Okay, I don't. It might be my laptop, though. Who knows? I've lost it. I've got to get this thing back up and running so I can play you. No, I've got it on the hard line. I'm going to get this back up and running so I can play you something from Senator Marsha Blackburn. We'll also get back to your telephone calls, obviously talking about the week that was. It's hard to believe, but it's only been a week since Election Day was upon us, and we discovered that, yes, America was with us, and that Donald J. Trump would be our 47th and next president of the United States of America. And now it's to the business of getting cabinet selections picked, getting the transition underway, and it is well underway, as we've been reporting for you all day long. A number of selections confirmed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump is expected to make a few more. He has not, as of yet, announced a few of these selections, but let's go over some of the ones he has announced. Obviously, Susie Wiles is his chief of staff. That was the first announcement that was made. I don't believe that Donald Trump has said that Stephen Miller was going to be his deputy chief of staff on policy, but it is wild. I mean, there's wild speculation about where Stephen Miller will land, but he will land somewhere within the administration. He has said that his border czar will be Tom Homan, that Mike Walls of Florida will be his national security advisor, that Lee Zeldin will be his EPA chief, that his UN ambassador will be Elise Stefanik, and Mike Huckabee will be his ambassador to Israel. Very important post considering everything going on there. And other than that, I think those are the ones that he has officially named. There are other names floating around, names like the aforementioned Mr. Miller as a deputy chief of staff, expected. Homeland Security, the name of Kristi Noem has been floated. I mean, I could make a dog joke here, but I'll choose not to. I could make a goat joke. It'd probably fly over a little bit better. Marco Rubio is a name that's been floated as Secretary of State. That's a possibility as well. I trust Donald Trump in all of these things. I think most of us agree that Donald Trump was our guy to get the country back on the right track, and whatever his picks are going to be, one would expect that they would advance the Trump agenda. You know, I mentioned it in the first hour of the show, and I'll say it again. I was reminded of an incredible quote by Steve Jobs, and I'll mangle the quote, but the spirit is the same, that the sign of a good leader, a successful and good innovative leader, is a person that does not necessarily think that they have all of the answers to every question asked, but they surround themselves with not competent but more than qualified people, innovative and smart people. And leadership involves recruiting those people into the right positions and then giving them a direction and a vision that they can believe in and that they can execute. That's it. That's it. And I believe Donald Trump's the guy to do it. Now, with that said, Marsha Blackburn has been silent on her selection for Republican majority leader. Here's, and I expressed a lot of frustration and dismay last hour. And let me tell you where some of this is coming from.
There's an article out of the New Republic. I'm just going to read you some of this article. I rarely read to you, but I think it merits the minute or two that we'll spend on it. Headline, and this is out today. It came out at, it was out yesterday afternoon. MAGA is pissing off Republicans with its push for Senate leader. That's the headline. I didn't say that. They said that. Mitch McConnell is on his way out, and Donald Trump's biggest allies are trying to bully Republican senators into backing their pick for his replacement. The article by Ellie Quinlan Houdeling. Ellie Quinlan Great Googly Moogly wrote this article. With Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on his way out, a MAGA power play amid the fight for Senate leadership is starting to rub some Republicans the wrong way. After 17 years in the hot seat, McConnell is expected to exit his post at the top of Senate Republican leadership Wednesday, ending his run as the longest-serving Senate party leader in U.S. history. At the top of the billing to replace the 82-year-old are South Dakota Senator John Thune and Texas Senator John Cornyn, two establishment conservatives, longtime McConnell allies who have not always seen eye to eye with the president-elect. Meanwhile, a gamut of Trump's key allies, including Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, Charlie Kirk, and Matt Murphy, are aggressively... They didn't name me, but I'm in there. All right, let me read it again. Meanwhile, a gamut of Trump's key allies, including Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Matt Murphy, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Charlie Kirk. I put myself in front of Vivek. I think I deserve that. I'm older than him. Are aggressively lobbying for Florida Senator Rick Scott to take the helm. Trump, notably, has so far avoided endorsing any of the contenders, but the overzealous pressure campaign, which is also being pushed along by some far-right social media influencers like Matt Murphy, and their harassment tactics, is on the verge of combusting, according to Politico. That's because most of the Senate Republican conference won't have to face re-election until 2028 or later. On top of that, the vote is by secret ballot, ensuring that no one, from their constituents to MAGA's top brass, will know if they voted for or against Trump's candidate. This is what really grinds my gears, this paragraph right here. One unnamed aide told Politico Sunday, senators do not take kindly to having an army of social media trolls attacking them, noting that the effort was, quote, only pissing off senators whose votes Rick needs to win. Still, all three candidates passed the Trumpian litmus test Sunday night, bending the knee to the chief Republicans' demand that they agree to recess appointments and thwart the appointment of Democratic justices. And Trump did that. He said, you've got to give me recess appointments. And all three of them said that they would, which would expedite the process and prevent Democrats from filibustering. More importantly, we need to demand that any Democrat filibuster be an actual filibuster, as I described in the last hour or hour before last. It needs to be an actual filibuster and not just this phony baloney filibuster like they do nowadays, which makes it so easy to do. So there's that. In the meantime, Senator Marsha Blackburn has been invited to be a guest on our radio show. She has declined up until at least Thursday. I don't know if she's going to come on, considering that I've had some harsh words for her. That is not personal. I've met Marsha Blackburn on several different occasions. I don't really feel like I know her necessarily personally, but this is not personal. Much like in The Godfather, it's not personal, it's business. And at our best on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, I won't speak for anyone else. I speak for myself. I'm a voice for you, not for her. And I just call it like it is. I try to be fair. But they've declined to come on our show, my show. I spoke to two separate members of her staff, and they said that she was just full as could be up until Thursday. but that she was undecided as of now, that this list that came out was untrue, that she was not a John Thune vote, and that she was considering her options, and that she was awaiting this forum that was being conducted, organized by Senator Mike Lee, in an effort to get to know the senators that she has been working with for years. I mean, I've got to get to know them. You've been working with them for... I mean, that's like me saying, I really, this Ken Weaver fella, I know I've been working with him for 3 years, and I know we've broken bread together, and I know we've maybe had a brew, and I get it, but I just need to see him at a forum just to see what's up.
Pleased to meet you, Brother Murphy.
Hello, Ken Weaver. How are you? Good to see you. I got a few questions for you about your leadership style, your news-making style. I mean, come on. What are we doing? But Marsha was unable to be on our show, and that's okay. That's understandable. She's got a lot of things to do, like, I don't know, visit with this lady from Newsmax. Marsha earlier today was on Newsmax, and she was asked the question about the Senate Majority Leader. Let's see what she had to say.
We know Elon Musk has said he wants Tim Scott from Florida. They want to get some people.
Rick Scott, but I get it. I mean, Tim Scott's a senator from South Carolina. Rick Scott's a senator from Florida. It could be confusing.
Who really will be behind Trump. Majority Leader, who would you like to see fill this role, Senator Blackburn?
Bianca, we're going to have a forum tonight, and I have my questions, and I've already reached out to Rick Scott and looking forward to having a conversation with him. What we need is a leader who is going to say the imperative is to get Donald Trump's agenda across the finish line and signed into law. Mm-hmm. And we should work diligently. We should work quickly on that. Yeah. So I'm going to say who has a game plan and is ready to put that game plan in place. That is exactly what we need to have happen.
Well, what we also see happening is Senator Marco Rubio of Florida expected to become Secretary of State. We know J.D. Vance will be obviously needing to fill his role there in the Senate. Where do you think that these positions...
Is it just me, or is this host kind of struggling here?
Who should be the next position there? I mean, any names or any thoughts on this?
Your second question in an interview with Marsha Blackburn is, who else should Donald Trump pick? He picked J.D. Vance and maybe Marco.
Yes, indeed. I'm already on record supporting Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio. I've said it in Tennessee. I've said it in Ohio when I was out campaigning with Bernie Moreno. I think Vivek would be wonderful. In Florida, I like the idea of Laura Trump, who did a superb job this last year in working with the RNC, making certain that people got out to the polls early and that they voted. I think she would be a fabulous senator for the state of Florida.
And we know loyalty wouldn't be a question there whatsoever. You know, Donald Trump made history with Susie Wiles, shattering, obviously, Mark Cuban's ridiculous comments about strong, smart women, which you, of course, are part of this strong, smart, conservative movement here. You heard, obviously, Kristi Noem, South Dakota governor, may be Department of Homeland Security Secretary to replace Alejandro Mayorkas. You have been so outspoken to protect children. You were pushing so hard, Senator Blackburn, I remember, for DNA testing at the border. So kids coming across with potential, cartel
Senator
members.
Blackburn on Newsmax.
Democrats shot that down. What do you think of her as a pick for this role?
She is a superb pick. I served in the House with Kristi, and we were in a Bible study group together on Wednesday mornings. She has been a governor who has really worked to secure a place for her state when it came to addressing COVID, when it came to addressing jobs growth, economic growth. She is tough. And I think that we need somebody like Kristi Noem over at the Department of Homeland Security.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I've got to stop that because I can't stand the fact that Marsha's mic isn't working properly. But there it is. So there's Marsha Blackburn on Newsmax. She did that interview a little bit earlier today, and hopefully she'll be on Super Talk 99.7 WTN before you know it. I mean, I'm sure all the hosts are reaching out. Curious about what her position is. She said that she felt like she would need this forum tonight to make a decision. The people that I talked to in her office did not indicate whether or not she would be making her vote public. I feel like we're at a time in American history. I'm going to say this real clear, that if you cannot tell your constituents who you voted for a Senate Majority Leader, then you don't need to be a senator. And that's just where I'm at on it. There does not, unless I'm missing something, there does not seem to me, Bell, am I missing something? Is there any valid excuse why they couldn't tell us who they voted for and why? I can't think of a single reason.
No, there's not a valid one, but the one that they use is the true one. I don't want you to know.
That's right. I mean, they'll say, well, we have to work with these folks and we want to be collegial and we want to make sure that our peers have respect for one another and we don't want anybody. I mean, what excuse? I don't even know what the flimsy excuse is. Like, why would you not tell anybody? Well, it's a secret. Well, why? Why is it a secret?
It's like that example you just used is like, well, you have rules on the Senate floor for how you behave and how you act toward your fellow senators. Why would you not have that same thing going on after a vote for Senate leader?
That's right. I mean, Bill Haggerty today on Nashville's Morning News with Dan Amanda said, I called John Thune and I called John Cornyn and I told them I'm voting for Rick Scott. I let them know. And they were, they accepted it. They have to accept it. So why wouldn't you do that? Your call's on the way next. It's 21 after the hour as we continue. By the way, Kamala Harris blew in 107 days $1.2 billion. I'm going to tell you some of the things she spent her money on.
Wait a minute. You're burying the lead.
What?
And put them $20 million in debt.
Well, and she's still begging for $20 billion because they're in debt.
But she can fix the economy.
Right. So, and she's begging people right now to pay off her debt because, she did such a good job. More on that coming up in a moment on Super Talk. I'm so happy and thankful to have someone like the GlockStore as a part of the show and someone like the GlockStore in town. Lenny McGill, 4 years ago, he had to get out of San Diego. He had to get out of California. He needed a place to land, and he wanted a place that believed in the Second Amendment, that believed in our freedoms and our liberties like we enjoy here in Nashville, and he landed in Nashville. What a 4 years it has been. I don't know if you realize it, but GlockStore is a nationwide company, right? They're an online retailer. If you go to GlockStore.com, they ship all over the United States of America. But here in Nashville, they have that beautiful retail showroom, the incredible and totally unique Shoot 270 rooms that Lenny has talked about with us from time to time about just the different nature of the room feel versus shooting lanes. The outward-facing part of the business, a business that employs nearly 100 Nashvillians, also includes a manufacturing and retail space. So in November, I just want to say thank you and want to express how thankful I am to the GlockStore for all of the support of Lenny McGill and the GlockStore. If you enjoy listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show, I just ask that the next time you need ammo, the next time you need accessories, the next time you need a gun, short gun, handgun, or long gun, you make the GlockStore your one and only stop. GlockStore.com or Shoot270.com for more info and tell them I sent you to the GlockStore.
Trump transition update, and wait till you hear the reception Vice President Kamala Harris got whenever she got back to work today. That's coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Many of you responding to our conversation today. Thank you so much for doing so, either on the phone lines or the super text line, 615-737-9986. You can also respond to me on the X machine. That's where I'm at most. I mean, I'm over on Facebook a little bit, on Instagram a little bit less, and everything else a little bit less.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Bell.
We have to protect Ken's credibility as a news person. So there's certain conversations he doesn't join in on. And I know you're not supposed to tease things you can't pay off, but I wish I could let the people hear what he says in between newscasts.
Well,
I told him I had a great idea for another oven mitt.
That ain't it.
So you're not going to tell me?
I'll tell you off air.
Well, that Bell.
I just do the news, boys.
Yeah, he just does the news.
You've managed to, in one sentence, annoy everybody. Like, Ken's like, hey, whoa, you don't need to tell anybody what I've been saying. Matt, you're not telling me. And the listeners are like, what's up?
I know. It's terrible.
You managed
it's terrible.
In one sentence.
It is not terrible.
I mean, it took me 2.5 hours to annoy everybody, and you've done it in one sentence. Congratulations, Bell. What did he say?
I'll give you some lessons after the show.
What did he say? Did he say something about Marsha Blackburn?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Tell me later.
Christy Dump.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree with that.
Governors aren't supposed to be that pretty.
Well, that's fair. Absolutely fair.
I mean, they should be like a librarian.
I don't know. Do you ever see that?
Like the old elementary school librarians I had.
Well, listen.
Get on to you if you didn't have your.
I don't mean to get too personal, but if you up with that hair in the bun and you got that ruler and those little glasses down, whoo! Yikes. Scary. Disciplinarians.
Yeah.
And I remember, did you ever see The Music Man, Ken?
No.
Music Man. Oh, great. Musical? Marion. Madam Librarian. Marion was hot.
Were you in a college performance of that?
I was. They were going to do The Music Man, but they wouldn't let us.
Oh.
First, it was some sort of rights deal. But I wanted to be Harold Hill. I'm talking about trouble right here in River City. That starts with a T and that rhymes with a P, and that stands for pool. Oh, you'd love that.
There's no P in Thompson.
No P in Thompson. No, he sings a song about there's trouble. The kids are about to get into trouble. And he there's a pool room in town. He said, I'm talking about trouble right here in River City. And that starts with a T and that rhymes with a P, and that stands for pool. Great music. Anyway, as I was saying before, Bell interrupted us with a story that he couldn't tell us, which is what just happened. EG writes in on the X machine, at Matt Murphy Show, if you want to follow me there, at Matt Murphy Show. I can't help but think that any senator keeping their leadership vote a secret must be negotiating for a committee position and other personal reasons. And she tagged me on it, at Matt Murphy Show. And I said, I expect that's part of it, but doesn't that feel self-serving and swampy? They're willing, you're telling me they're willing to lie to the new Senate Majority Leader to gain a committee assignment if they did not, in fact, vote for them, which is exactly what it is. And EG responded, absolutely slimy. The whole point of electing Trump in such an overwhelming fashion is because we dislike the swampy, self-serving BS that is typical of Cornyn, Thune, and establishment types. Amen, amen, and amen. More calls on the way on Super Talk.
2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. President-elect Trump confirming 2 more appointments today. Florida Congressman Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee as Ambassador to Israel. And when the Senate votes tomorrow on its leadership, Senator Rick Scott, an avid Trump supporter, will have at least 1 vote. Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty.
I called John Thune and John Cornyn before I called Rick Scott to tell them both that I was going to be endorsing Rick Scott. They weren't surprised.
Haggerty speaking this morning to Dan Mandis on WTN's Nashville's Morning News. Analysts say Haggerty may still be on the short list for Treasury Secretary in the new administration. Meanwhile, Tennessee U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn was non-committal when asked on Newsmax who she would like to see fill the majority leader role. She said she has reached out to Rick Scott, but
what we need is a leader who is going to say the imperative is to get Donald Trump's agenda across the finish line and signed into law.
says she's going to wait until they have their forum tonight. Today is the deadline set by the Biden administration for Israel to increase humanitarian aid in Gaza or risk losing some weapons shipments for the war on Hamas. State Department spokesman Vedant Patel says they're seeing what they call positive signs.
We think that it was U.S. engagement that led to these progress points being met, and we're going to continue to work at it.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog at the White House today telling Biden a major objective of the remainder of his term in office should be dealing with Iran and its proxies in the region. Meanwhile, in our nation's capital, staffers cheering Vice President Kamala Harris as she returned to work today. A week out from her election defeat to Donald Trump, she thanked the crowd for the warm welcome, said they still got a lot of work to do. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. Man, oh, man. I've had fun today. I hope you have as well. Brian Wilson is on the way. Coming up at 3 o'clock this afternoon, today, tomorrow, Thursday. I'll be back on Friday. Brian working that abbreviated schedule up until December. Happy to have him every single moment we're able. He's upcoming, and we'll and give you his astute analysis coming up then. So CNN, it is said, is reported. I promised I'd get to you, and I will, on the phones because there's several of you waiting. But stand by. Two things. One, CNN is reportedly set to nix some of their top talent in a round of post-election layoffs. The rumblings come as high-paid personalities like Jake Tapper and Wolf Blitzer are reportedly have been denied raises. The two already had salaries of $7 and $3 million, respectively. Anderson Cooper takes home $20 million. Caitlin Collins, and man, talk about somebody that it just goes to show you, if you have a really bad attitude, it doesn't matter how pretty you are. You're ugly to me.
That's a very good point.
Caitlin Collins and Aaron Burnett command inflated earnings of $3 and $6 million apiece, respectively. But anyway, there's going to be layoffs coming at CNN. In the meantime, there was a recent report, and I've not confirmed this independently, but this came out by Brianna Morello, who used to work for Fox News Corporation and now has her own broadcast. She claims on the X machine that Comcast President Mike Cavanaugh reported during the Comcast's third quarter earnings call that their plan was to sell MSNBC. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just, throwing it out there. I mean, normally if it was something more serious, I would wait to confirm it with a multiple source, but I don't think this is serious. I just think it's funny. And you know what? I don't have any. I'll say this. My responsibility is to speak truth to the listening audience of this show as I understand it, and to offer a steady dose of my opinions and to entertain you for 3 hours a day. Some would suggest, well, Matt, you should feel bad if people get laid off, right? You should feel bad if the people of CNN. Hashtag never CNN. CNN is a garbage network full of garbage people spewing garbage. They know what they're doing. MSNBC knows what they're doing. If they didn't, maybe I'd feel bad for them. But they do, so I don't. Chuck is next in Laverne. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Man, I'm good. Hope you are.
I am too. I had three quick things for you. I meant to call in 2 weeks ago, but I heard you said they called Donald Trump everything but Satan. And the reason they don't call him Satan is because they like Satan. So they don't want to associate with anything with that.
Did you see the, I don't mean to get off track, but I know you got two other points. Did you see the Babylon Bee where Satan holds the press conference?
I've not seen that.
Oh, it's so good. So if you look it up, it's like the guy, he's dressed as Satan, and he like sits down like he's a coach. There's no other way to say it. We got beat. Yeah. I mean, it was, he said, we took a heaven of a beating. Instead of, anyway, you just look it up. It's a good 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's good. The other thing is everything you were saying about Marsha Blackburn's dead on, and if people have problems with their politicians for their areas, they need to find out where they go, where they hang out, and start going to those places. I had a problem with state representative 4 years ago. I showed up to every one of his events for 2 years to get my point across.
Good for
never
you.
mean, never ugly. We're friends now. We talk weekly now, but that's what people have to do, and it's what people don't want to put the time into. They don't want to put the time into investing into these people. They just want to go on, be keyboard warriors or whatever it is, and it's like you've got to go face to face with them. They can't walk away from you easily if you're in their face. They can turn the computer off or their phone off.
That's a good point.
You have to show up to these events.
Yeah,
you have to show up to everything they do.
Got to put the work in.
You got to put the work in. Exactly. You have to do it.
Well, I mean, it's my understanding, and I've not heard an update, but it's my understanding there were people that went to Marsha's office today, her field office in downtown Nashville on Church Street, and they were making their voices heard about
which direction they want her to go with regard to Senate Majority Leader, and that's a part of it. Let's go. Let's do it.
That's it. And you're right. They work for us, and they need to be reminded of that from time to time. Not before the polls, but after.
I like it
because they tell us everything they want us to hear before, but after they'll do what they want.
Point
and
3.
Then the other,
final.
The other thing is, I actually have a memorial this weekend on Sunday. I wanted to invite you to. It's at the Capitol on the north side, and on the other side of the hill. It starts at 2:00. It's for crash victims. It's for crash victims memorial for people in Tennessee. We've had almost 1,000 people killed this year, and it's about 1,000 people every year.
Well, good.
And,
that's good. Good that you remember those.
Well, my son was hit and killed 4 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
So it's a passion of mine, but I like to, it's supposed to be some politicians coming out, and Freddie O'Connor's supposed to come out too.
Where is it again?
It's on the north side of the Capitol, down on the back side of it on the hill. It's like a big parking area and stuff like that, but it's behind the Capitol.
And you say your son was killed 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, and God bless you, Chuck, for letting us know about it, and let us know how it goes, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. That's sad, but true and an important reminder for folks who are out and about. Jim is next in Nashville. Jim, how's it going? Hello, Jim.
You mean Ken?
Well, it said Jim on my screen, but I'm going to take your word for it. Hey, Ken.
Well, thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said about Marsha. In fact, back in 1990, I ran for Congress as an independent, got 4% of the vote, and spent $300 on my campaign. So it wasn't too serious. But I think I'm going to run again as an independent, and I'll be the oldest non-incumbent to ever run for office, I think, or for the House of Representatives. And I like you, I like to get rid of these political parasites. I mean, they get elected. It seems like they make a career from running from office. I think if we did away with their retirement funds, the special perks, tie their raises or increased income to how much money they cut in spending for the federal government, that might be a good thing to do. I really feel like that the ones that we have there now have no interest in doing anything except for their own self-interest. That's what it seems like to me. I worked with lobbyists for about 3 years, and I sort of got a pretty good education then. But having these people, making a career for running for office and then doing whatever they want to do and not what needs to be done, and get rid of the perks, limit the lobbyists. There's a lot of things that could be done to discourage these people from making a career out of being a politician.
Well, I hope you, Ken, I hope you run. Let us know. I'll have you on.
Well, thank you. I'll be the oldest person ever run. So
wait, how? What is that? The
91.
oldest?
I'll be 91 when I run.
91. So you would run as a 91-year-old as a non-incumbent. That would be awesome.
Of course. Well,
I'd love that.
Why not?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, man. I'll help you out. Thank you, Ken, for the call. Bill will finish it up out of Nash. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Hey, Matt. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
I'd like to tell you that you were asking me for, or probably hypothetically, but you might really know, about why they vote in secret. And my thinking is this. The last time when McConnell won, you saw how many Republicans voted for him to lead their Senate. And they knew there were 50 million voters out here that did not want to see McConnell back there in charge of them. And they did it anyway because they're more afraid of Mitch McConnell than they are of their voters. And that's sad. And that's why they didn't want to let the voters know who they're voting for, because they're afraid of what they're going to get or what's going to happen to whoever votes for who up there. And we have a right to know. And I'm extremely angry because you can't talk to Marsha Blackburn and tell her how you feel. She's not going to talk to individuals. So the only thing they'll understand is the voters. And if they finally, find out we're sick of this, they scream about the Democrats not being transparent, including her. So that's hypocrisy in its fullest, telling Democrats to be transparent when they aren't. And I thank you for your time, sir.
Well, thank you, Bill, for the time as well. No, it wasn't so much a hypothetical question. It was, I mean, I think I have an answer or two to the question. Why must this be a secret ballot? The answer is as simple as this, that the senators want plausible deniability so they can get committee assignments. But doesn't that feel swampy and shady in and of itself? All right, so on one hand, you've got Senator Bill Hagerty, who issued a public statement about it, came on Nashville's Morning News this morning. We've got him lined up to come on later on in the week. I'm certain that he'll be on a variety of different local shows here on Super Talk, maybe television or whatever. And he said, look, I called Thune, I called Cornyn, I was respectful to them. I said, look, I'm voting for Rick Scott just to let you know. Tommy Tuberville did the same thing in Alabama. And then you have the Marsha Blackburn or the Katie Britt way of doing it. Saying, ooh, I've not decided. Ooh, I don't know. Ooh, I've got to listen to them tonight. You think they're going to tell us how they voted? The only reason not to tell is to angle for committee assignments. But doesn't that indicate that you would lie to the person? If you didn't vote for the Senate Majority Leader that ends up being the Senate Majority Leader, what are you going to do? Say, hey, I voted for the other guy. Well, then that's not a secret ballot anyway. I cannot give you a legitimate voter-minded reason why we should not be able to know who they vote for, especially considering that these things do matter. As I said earlier, I illustrated it during the mid-2000s. We were told, man, oh, man, if we could just overcome this filibuster. They never make the minority party filibuster anymore because they're too lazy to do it. They never change the rule to demand that it's members present. It's members of the body. So on the filibuster, on breaking the filibuster, it's members of the body, not members present. Make them sit in the body. Make them sit there and actually do the filibuster, and you won't see as many filibusters. Nowadays, Chuck Schumer raises his hand and said, hey, we're going to filibuster that. And Mitch McConnell goes, well, okay. We need somebody that fights tough. I'm not suggesting change the rule on the filibuster. I'm saying make them filibuster. That's just an example of how a Senate Majority Leader can make a tremendous difference. Tremendous difference. In the meantime, I mentioned this. Kamala Harris blew through like $1.2 billion of donors' money in just over 100 days. And she's still $20 million in debt. Listen to this. Oprah Winfrey charged the Democrats $1 million to stop Hitler. Right? They told us Trump was Hitler. They told us he was an authoritarian. Never a greater threat since the Nazi regime of the 1930s. But Oprah Winfrey, this was on October 15th, Harpo Communication. She denies it. Harpo Productions, $1 million. So apparently, that's what it cost Oprah Winfrey, a billionaire, to stop Hitler.
It was cheaper than Lizzo?
Apparently.
Wow.
I mean, Lizzo was, I forget.
Lizzo was $2 million.
I thought Lizzo was $2. I think that was actually, I think that was the total production cost of that little, whatever that was.
Oh, okay.
But Lizzo charged. Call her daddy. Did you hear about that one? So this stupid podcast that no one's ever heard of that was designed to get Kamala Harris in with the young folks, and that worked well, huh? Kamala Harris thinks, well, I mean, they weren't stupid enough to vote for you. She's so much hubris, she would not go to them. She refused to go to them, so they built a copy of the Call Her Daddy set in a Washington, D.C. hotel for $100,000. They paid $3.9 million to Village Marketing just to recruit, quote, social media influencers. They're paying them off, and it didn't work. I love it. We'll get with Brian Wilson and find out what's happening on the drive this afternoon, right after this on Super Talk. Man, so much to get to today. I did not get to the FEMA story where the woman accused of telling her staff members in a FEMA exercise to skip homes with Trump signs, she's now become a whistleblower saying this was more systemic to FEMA. Anyway, that is upcoming. But right now, we turn it over to Brian Wilson. Brian, before, I'll say hello to you, but I want to say something to you. This is my first opportunity to speak to you since you made the big announcement. Congratulations.
Right. Well, thank you.
And God bless you on everything that's coming. I know we're going to have you for a lengthy amount of time before you stop to the full time, but I want to thank you for everything that you do for our community, and congratulations on the wonders of retirement. You can, you've got all those Cabana wife to-do lists.
Oh, well, that's every day, regardless of whether I'm retired or not. You should see my list today. No, and I just say, I was going to say something about it a little bit later, and I will, but golly, the outpouring of good wishes from people who listen to this radio station. I mean, that little announcement that I made, they put it up on our social media platforms, and I think there's something like, 30, 40,000 views of that particular moment, which that people took the time to even care. It really is very touching. But then, I mean, people that, that you think we do this job and we just speak words and it goes out into a gigantic vacuum. Sometimes you don't know whether you have any impact on people or not. That thousands of people took the time to write me a note. I wish I could write everybody back, but that would be a full-time job. But the lovely sentiments from the vast majority of people who wrote in, and a couple of guys who said, good riddance, get the hell out of here, would you? But, the vast majority of people were just so wonderfully warm. And I want you to know how much it touched me and how much it meant to me.
What are you cranking up with today, Brian? What's first up?
I think, it's you could just do a reset of where we are, not only in, the offices that have been decided in the election, but also, where we are. Because, the Trump appointments or rumors of appointments are coming fast and furious. So we'll make sure that everybody's up to speed, sort of set the table at the beginning, and we got a lot of other stuff to follow after that.
Absolutely love it. Brian Wilson is up with the drive. That is coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's right after Ken Weaver's newscast, which happens now. I'll be enjoying the drive. Hope you are as well. Have a great afternoon, folks. Hug your loved ones. We'll talk to you tomorrow at high noon. Until then, so long, everybody.